I tried to get an online connection, as you have seen. I didn't succeed, but that doesn't matter. We can do it out of the normal presentation. Yeah, thank you. The presentation has its main focus on the reflector system. We have 3 introductory pages where I speak a little bit about the differences and commonalities, and then we dig into the different types of infrastructure. I separate the Connect Plus, that's the new name now for the DCS/DMR Plus reflector system from the other ones, and then we go into the details of the reflector system that Thorsten has developed over the last 10 years. So when we look at the different digital systems that we are using in amateur radio, we got P25, DMR, D-Star Fusion, and NXDN. I learned NXDN is used by railroads in the United States. That was new to me, and it's a little bit similar to a degree as maybe you want to. Yeah. Worst case, 3 o'clock. I'm giving another presentation at 3 o'clock at the Children's Safety Village. So if you want to return, or you can watch it out there too.
Did you start early already, or no?
11:15. We are on time. So it would be possible to do NXDN. The only thing Thorsten needs is a few repeaters. And handhelds to get it up and running. Now when we look at all these systems, what we really have in common is the MB vocoder. Now the older vocoders were the MB2000s, and they were specific to the manufacturers. There is now a new chip, a new vocoder chip, which is the MB3000. And that comes in 2 versions, and you can really dynamically switch it in the different codecs modes. So you can basically take the Fusion codec, or you can take the D-Star mode, or whatever you want. Additionally, the radio that we have in our DV4Mini is a software-defined radio, so we can do 12.5 kilohertz, we can do 6.25 kilohertz. We can do basically everything, and in the time domain, well, you just have to implement the protocol. Sounds simple. Sorry, Thorsten, when I say that, so I know he spent months to do so. But at the end of the day, they're just FM rigs with an MB chip. Long story short, it's maybe oversimplified, but that's kind of what they all have in common. Now, what network infrastructure do we have so far? We have the D+ system, which ICOM did a great job about 10-15 years ago to give it to the ham radio community, and recently we got WiresX. I don't want to really go into the details. We all know how D-Star works, but it was the first introduction of a digital reflector system, and it really had also one more very interesting feature, and that was call sign routing. If you guys want to come to the Children's Safety Village at 3 o'clock, we have a second presentation, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah? Pass it on, please.
Okay, we will.
Yeah? It had the call sign routing, it had the gateway, it had the basic infrastructure. And was a great system. Was a first generation system. WiresX is a completely different structure. You need your HRI to 200 unit, and the reflector is really your PC, and you can make your own PC to a reflector. Very interesting approach, very independent approach. Basically, Yeshu moved the task of running the infrastructure into the ham's responsibility. Everybody can make his own PC a reflector, but if you use one of the reflectors, well, if the guy turns off his PC, you're out of luck. 90% from what I saw when I looked at it the last time were Japanese reflectors. It's very much a Japanese system. Like originally our system was a lot of German stuff going on, and it was internationalized then later. Of course, there is the X-reflector system, which is the system before the Connect Plus system. That was also programmed and developed by Thorsten. So it's an X-reflector, and what we are looking at is basically just a continuation of the same thing. In Connect Plus, and that's how we want to do the naming in the future. First it was DCS, then we had the DMR Plus, and all the other reflector systems were added, and so Thorsten said, let's call the whole thing Connect Plus, and all the other, everything under it, DCS Plus, DMR Plus, DPMR Plus, P25 Plus, and C4FM Plus. So the plus kind of indicates that it belongs to the Connect Plus system. Now, how does that whole thing work? You have about 20 servers worldwide, and these servers are the CCS7 servers. What the CCS7 servers do, and I will go into detail later on, is authentication and routing. First of all, it looks is that guy authorized to use that? And it also converts your call sign into a number, which we need for anything other than D-star, and even D-star now has an issue. I learned that last night, actually, when we had that meeting last night from Thorsten, that in the European Union they give out call signs with 7 numbers and digits now, and there is not enough space in the D-star system. There's just one character missing. I'm giving the same presentation at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Children's Safety Village.
Okay.
And under that you have if you want to come this afternoon, 3 o'clock, that's another option. 3 o'clock at the Children's Safety Village. I'm giving the same
You
presentation.
can leave the chairs.
Thank you.
Somebody else might come in too.
Right.
We'll fit you in.
So under the CCS system, the functionality is authentication, and it's allowing call signs that are not standard anymore, and also routing. The old D-star routing works that you put the call sign in, and then it's translated into that 10.something internal IP address that some of you guys might remember when you signed up in D+. That is done differently in CCS7. In CCS7, typically in Europe, you type in a 4-digit phone number, and that connects you then to the repeater where that person logged in the last time, pushed the PTT the last time. You can also do it with typical ICOM setup where you put this number into the memory. That's another way to do it, which was not the way it was done originally in Germany. It was added because that is because of the D+ infrastructure, how it was done in the United States. So that has been added. I think it was in the first software that had that was in December. And under that you have the different reflector systems. And these reflector systems all use CCS7 for authentication and routing. Now, why do we really need the CCS? All other digital systems that we use in ham radio have only 3 bytes for addressing. Now, even I have a short call sign with HE0X, but even that wouldn't even fit in there, let alone now the 7-digit call signs that they have in Europe. So we needed a tool that allowed us to convert the call signs into an addressable thing for the reflector system. I do the same presentation at 3 p.m. Children's Safety Village. So the CCS system is a public database with currently about 29. How many entries? 29,000, about 30,000, just shy of about 30,000 entries, where you just have call sign, name, city, and the CCS7 number. Now, obviously, in ham radio, we are required to use our call sign. Most regulatory authorities in the world, including the FCC, allows the fact that this is a public. I'm doing the same presentation at 3 o'clock, Children's Safety Village. A public database where the FCC can go in there, and with that number, they can, and you can do that as well. You can go on the Reflector website, and you can look everybody up. So it's a public database, and it's accepted by the regulatory authorities that we can connect. We can convert our call signs into this 3-byte number. This 3-byte number is not an invention that Thorsten came up with. He invented a lot, but not this one. We are using an ITU standard. The ITU is the International Telecommunication Union, and the first 3 digits is the country code. So it's an international standard. In the US, we have 310 to, I think, 317, is that right? And in Germany would be, for example, 262. The other 4 digits is then a running number. Obviously, in the US, we have more ham, so that's why we have multiple of these 3-digit codes. Now, if you are doing a call sign routing, basically dialing somebody within the US or within your area code, so to speak, 4 digits work. If you are outside of your area code, you have to type in the 7 digits. Now, the structure of that CCS number, I already said that if the first one is a 1, it's a test network, second is Europe, 2 is Europe, 3 is North America, and so on. You can read it yourself. Here you see some examples. So if you look, I have 2 examples on the bottom, both my call signs. The left one is my US call sign, AG0X, and here I have 3112528, no secrets, public. And on the right side, it's still ULI, DH6SAB, and there I have 2627506. Now, when you buy a stick from us, you need the CCS7 number, and it happens all the time that people says, I can't get it work, and it's red. And I said, well, what did you put in? Well, I put my call sign in. Well, what does it say? It's a CCS7 number. It doesn't say call sign. So what we do in the first place, we have an agreement with DMR Mark because we don't want to have everybody in the ham radio world coming up with his own numbering system, you know. So like Sprint and T-Mobile, and everybody has his own numbers. We don't want them. We want to have a unique a system that is all the same for every ham, for every mode, worldwide. So the DMR Mark people agreed that in the US, they assign the numbers. So you basically, what we do, if you log in on the xreflector.net website, we just forward you to DMR Mark, you put in your call sign, they assign you the number, and then in the background, they give us the number back so that we can use it. But we assure this way that everybody is using the same call signs, whether you're using Fusion, whether you're using DMR, whether you're using D-Star, it does not matter. It is kind of your second call sign, a numeric version of your call sign.
So when I signed up for DMR, I got a 7-digit number. Florida starts with 3112, and that is the same number I'm
Yes, yes. There have been some hiccups with very old DMR numbers where the whole system was not set up. And then you are not downloaded in our database. So you have to go on the Reflector website and look. I don't know whether I have that here. No, I don't have that here. And you have to look whether the CCS7 is blank. And then you have to apply for that. But don't do it that first, because otherwise you might have 2, and that's not wanted. We don't want to give you a second call sign, because we will only use the lower number, right? Okay. And you, Thorsten, you have to correct me, you know, if I tell any nonsense here. We had a few days where I did the presentation, and I said, Thorsten, look over my shoulder there. I don't tell you guys nonsense. Now, how does that work? The DMR Mark guys give us their database, and that's right now about just shy of 30,000 numbers, and licenses, and we download that into what I call here the CCS7 server cluster. The cluster is made currently out of 20 redundant servers that are spread all over the world. Now these servers use a protocol that is called IRC-DV, and this is a very interesting protocol. You basically have database servers, and I had hoped that I could get an online connection to show you the communication with it. Even if you shoot 10 out of the 20 down, the other 10 still communicate with each other, and it's fully redundant. It's almost an unkillable system. And even if you we overload one, let's say in Germany the main server is CCS02, in the US it's CCS052, and you have more than Thorsten, how many? What's the maximum right now? Well, it's not a fixed number. It depends on how much bandwidth we have, right? Wie viele User können auf einen CCS-Server gehen? Okay. Yeah, he controls that depending on the bandwidth. He tests the bandwidth when it comes up, and then he says this server is good for 100, this server is good for 1,000. And as soon as that disappears, the server disappears in the menu, and you go to another server, so we can make sure that we don't have an overload situation. Okay, that was the CCS system. The CCS system has the second functionality that I already mentioned, that it also does the direct call. That is in DMR only possible in the Hytera world, not in the Motorola world, not because of a technical reason, but because Motorola doesn't want it. So in the CCS or in the DCS world, you can just use the call sign routing and call somebody like on the phone. Very simple. Now here we have the different reflector system, and the question is, well, what happens if I push the buttons? Well, you switch the mode on the RF interface, but what happens on the internet side is the question. Well, remember what I said. You type in your number. I used mine again, 3112528. The DV4Mini goes to the reflector system and goes to your reflector that you selected, to the DMR master or to the DCS24 or DCS6, which would be American D-Star servers, and says, I'm 3112528, let me in. Then your server goes to the CCS server that is attached to that master, and it's different. It looks different depending on the reflector system, whether you have D-Star or DMR. That is fundamentally different, but that's the logic. Then you go to the next CCS7 server. Do you know that guy? Yeah, it's Uli, AG0X, and he's fine. Didn't mess anything up yet, and you can let him in. And then the reflector system, says, hi Uli, and pretends to be friendly. Now, the DCS system is, as I said, is the next system that was developed after the X-reflector system. And in the Mini, you can of course still go in the US Trust system, or you can go in the X-reflector system. But outside of the United States, the DCS system is the dominant system. The DCS system is a further development of the earlier systems, and one typical example that caught my attention a while ago, I don't know how often you guys use a Reflector 1 Charlie on the US Trust system. You often see that you have packet losses, and it beeps, and you have hiccups. The driver is different. The way Thorsten did the driver and the interconnection to the system is that he uses a broadcast where the packets multiply in the network. In the old US Trust system, if you have 300 people connected to that reflector, that PC has to put out, wie viele Pakete haben wir pro Sekunde in D-Star?
Alle 20 Millisekunden.
We have every 20 milliseconds one packet. So if you have 200 repeaters or dongles connected, within 20 milliseconds it has to push out 200 packets. That's why you have the dropouts. It's just maxing out, which was not a problem. It was not even a design flaw. It was not anticipated that there would be so many users. That's all it is. Now, what Thorsten is, he pushed the multiplication of the packets out in the network. And so you don't have these dropouts in the DCS system because the driver is built different. Irgendwelche andere Kommentare zu dem Thema noch? Okay. Not yet. No further comments. Not yet. Okay. Now, when you go on xreflector.net, you see the list, and I just copied in the beginning, otherwise it would have been too small. And you see there is one reflector for every country, kind of. Germany was the first one because that's where it has been developed. There is also, it says worldwide. Well, it's like when they say worldwide and mean the United States. That's what they did in Germany too. It's really half German, but you have also Poland and Ukraine and all other some other countries in there. There are right now 33 reflector systems for DCS, which is D-Star, and each reflector system has 26 rooms. That's different from D+, where you typically have the ABC for 23 centimeters, 70 centimeter, and 2 meters. And I think I took DCS 7, not DCS 6 for this example, and you see that. But there is DCS 24, which is Florida. This one is in, I think, in the Boston area. It's, I think the guy who runs it is N1 FCC. And one of these reflectors is nothing else but a single PC with 26 logical rooms. You have, again, the same logic. You come in and you are authenticated. And if you want to call somebody, you put in that 7-digit number, then this PC goes to the CCS7 system. And then the CCS7 system, the guy that you want to talk to, is on a different reflector on the other side of the world and connects you to that room. It also disconnects you from your reflector, that you do not, and disconnects the other party from his reflector, and establishes a direct connection that you don't interfere with the voice traffic, the audio, in that respective reflector. Habe ich irgendwas vergessen? Okay, didn't forget anything. Now, on the DMR side, it is a little bit more complex. On the DMR side, the reflector system has 3 levels of servers. The underlying thought was to keep the local traffic local. There will be more Americans talking to Americans than there will be Americans talking to Austrians. So we have a hierarchical structure, and the way it works is that your repeater or your dongle connects to what we call the DMR master. And when you go to the expert settings, you see your DMR master, and you can select one. And you should select one that is close to you and still runs good. You have to play a little bit around. And I did some tests with a friend of mine in Canada, and I said, can you please test mine and compare that to the ones that he is using. And he found out there was one, I think, on Rhode Island that was just better than mine, because I'm in Florida and he was in Montreal. Obviously he had ping times of 20 milliseconds, and down to me he had about 60 millisecond ping times, so that was a better choice. Now the DMR master connects to repeaters and to dongles. How many repeaters or dongles do we typically have on one? About 50. About 50. And then this DMR master goes on the next level, which is the S master. So if you have 2 DMR masters, let's say one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, and you go into a talk group or into a reflector system, which is technically pretty much the same, which is not on your DMR master, then the 2 DMR masters connect each other with the S master. What does S stand for? Super or Super Master? What was your idea about that? Super Master. Okay, that's the next level. Now at a certain point that was outgrown as well. And then Thorsten invented the B master, the big master. And we have right now, I think, 3. Right? We have 1 for the US.
Eine in der Schweiz für Europa.
Oh, und immer nur 2 dabei.
Ein für Schweiz, ein für Europa, ein für die USA.
Okay, we have 2, 1 for Europe and 1 for the United States. The European one is in Zurich, and the US one is in Naples, Florida. I guess why. So I have, I think only in Zurich and in Florida we have a situation where we have a co-location of all 3 server levels in one rack. All the other ones are distributed, which is a good thing, because